It's the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show. Get ready for Sega news and commentary with your hosts, George and Barry. Hello and welcome to the SEGAbits Swingin Report Show, episode 44. I'm Barry, with me is George.
Hello? Is that what you want me to say? I don't want to say that now.
Yeah, that's what I want you to say. And we also have with us from Sonic Retro, our sister or brother site, Bartman.
Yep, that's me, Bartman 3010. I could also write for the SEGAbits site, but I still haven't done that yet.
Well, there's always time.
There's always time.
Well, there's finally news.
Exactly. Of course, even then, I don't think that many people really know who I am. Although I do write for the front page on Retro and things like that. I also I think one thing that I'm mostly known for is like I also kind of sort of run the streaming that we do for our site called Video Retro.
Okay.
So you know.
Yeah, with that in mind, what have you been playing?
Oh man. In terms of like Sega, ever since I picked up my VGA cable for my Dreamcast, I've actually been playing a little more of Jet Grind Radio, as it was called in America, of course.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been, while I was doing like my finals earlier this month, I was kind of trying to keep myself motivated to do anything since, trying to do I've just started to get back into college, and thankfully this semester did pretty well for me. And to just keep myself sane, I've just been trying to play through Jet Grind Radio, and also been trying to edit the Sega Retro Wiki just for the fun of it.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, it's just mostly just been kind of a hodgepodge, especially since this week was my birthday. But
Happy birthday!
Thank you.
Happy late birthday.
Yes, although I haven't really gotten too many games. Well, I did get a few games. I got a few like Dreamcast games, like I picked up Wetrix Plus and Trickstyle, but that doesn't work. Trickstyle doesn't work if you had the VGA adapter plugged in, so I gotta kind of jury-rig that somehow.
And what's funny about that game is that the demo disc containing it actually does work on the VGA. So it's mainly just the bit of code that they didn't put in. The game itself is actually VGA compatible.
It's so frustrating. I mean, that's exactly how I was playing it earlier this month as well, was through that demo disc, the first one.
Yeah.
And, I don't know. I had some fun with it, even though some people don't really seem too keen on it, which is weird. It's like Criterion's one of their first games when they were still with Acclaim at the time, and it also uses renderware. Great, I guess. But again, I haven't really played that much of the game, and of course, two other games for the Dreamcast that I got was Zombie Revenge, which is like really frustrating.
Yeah.
Like, I've just picked it up because, it's House of the Dead related. What could go wrong other than, the terrible acting and animation and the guy with the golden eye or whatever.
Yeah, it's kind of fun, isn't it?
It's got some interesting bits and pieces, but you kind of got to work at it to kind of understand how the mechanics work. And I would assume it would be less frustrating if you have a second person with you at the, fighting alongside with you.
Mm-hmm.
And the other game, it still hasn't come in the mail yet, but I'm still waiting on it, is Echo the Dolphin, Defender of the Future, which I played a little bit of, but I picked up for a decent price, at least for a brand new copy, but I've still yet to see it in my hands or through my mailbox. So until then, I have to kind of wait and see how that goes.
Cool. Yeah, that's a beautiful game. I remember my dad brought home the projector from his work, and I projected that game on the ceiling and laid on my back and played it. And
that's amazing.
It was pretty awesome because the whole, when you're underwater, it kind of works with that kind of just, I don't know, it worked for whatever reason. I felt like I was underwater, and strangely enough, I actually brought the projector home this weekend, so I might give that a try when no one's looking.
Nice.
When no one's home. You're
play
gonna
with some dolphins on my back, yeah.
Yeah,
George, what have you been
just
playing?
one word. Just one word that I do want to squeeze in was obviously our major Sonic release for the past week or so, which was Sonic 1 for iOS and Android, or the Android version in my case, which is Sonic 1 as you know it, with running on the Retro engine. but it's got a few problems. Like, it's not exactly like one-to-one perfect, but for the features that it has and things like that, it's actually kind of nice. I went through and streamed some of the debug features for like a couple of hours, and I actually got
cool.
stealth. I got stealth to come out of hiding. That was actually a personal victory in my regard.
Very cool.
What I've been playing?
Yep.
Yeah.
I've been playing Sonic 1 on iOS, not iOS, but Android, which is the same game anyway. It's a nice game. I haven't played too much of it. There's something I just can't. I'm not that good at touchscreen controls. Like Sonic will go too much to one side, and I'm like, oh, my thumb's in the way. I don't know when to jump. But I mean, there's nothing they could do about that. Sega. I mean, they do support, I guess, Bluetooth controllers. So
Yes, I've actually played through through the game with my Moga controller, which actually works pretty nice. One thing I did notice about the touch controls is that it only will work in 4 directions, which, for some situations it actually works because that means you're not going to accidentally roll into a ball in certain points. But that means when you're like using the debug mode, you can't use the, 8-way directions to move in, a working fashion. So it kind of gets frustrating in that regard.
Right.
And being touch controls, so what are you going to do?
and it's a good game. I mean, I got it on my new phone, and it looks pretty nice on it. Um, I'm happy. I'm pretty happy with it. But just that I'm not that into touchscreen controls. Like I don't know why I even bother buying games on Android. Like a new game will come out and I'm like, and I'll buy it and I'm like, oh, it's cool, but I'd rather have it on a console.
Right.
That's why I use, like, for my phone, I just use the built-on keypad to play like Sonic CD on there.
What phone do you have?
Which it's like a T-Mobile Samsung Sidekick 4G.
Okay.
And unfortunately, that like went out of production like the first 6 months it came out. Not too surprising.
Yeah, my phone doesn't have a physical keyboard. It's all touchscreen, like all
Yeah.
new, I guess, new phones. And I bought a 4 pack or a 5 pack, I don't know, Microsoft games on Steam. It was like $10, and it came with Deadlight, Mark of Ninja. Uh, there's this one game that Double Fine made. It was like a tank game. It came with that one and a couple other ones.
Oh, is that Iron Brigade?
Iron Brigade, yeah, there you go. And I only started playing Mark of Ninja before the podcast, and that one's pretty all right. I think the animation and the cutscenes is kind of lame, and the story's kind of stupid, but I kind of like playing it. It's no Shinobi or anything. It's not an action game. It's trying to be stealth 2D, but it's pretty fun for what it is, especially for getting it so cheap. I think it was like $2 a title.
Wow.
Nice.
So I've been playing that, and I hooked up my Move the other day, and I started playing the House of the Dead, which worked fine. And then my Move came with a sorcery, the game. So
that game released.
Yeah, the game released. It was bundled right away.
God, no one talks about that damn thing.
Yeah, it's not. I can see why. I mean, it's a good concept, but man, that game needs it's. When you make a Move game, you shouldn't be focusing on movements. Like I hate when play a Move game and you're like, hey, look, there's something in the way before you go to the next level. Move your controller right and then left to take it away. I don't like that stuff. I don't like that stuff. I think it's just like, oh, it's so like lazy. Like I like House of the Dead on it because it's just a light gun game. It's like not really a move game, I guess. It is a move game, but it's light gun focus. It's just shooting, and you don't have to do stupid things like shake a potion and then the color on the thing turns to another color. That's not for me.
You don't shake potions.
No, I don't shake potions. I drink them straight.
Nice.
And that's it. That's actually all I've been playing.
Cool. I've been playing Sonic 1 on iOS. I've been enjoying that. It's, the touch controls, they're never perfect, but I think they are as good as they could probably get them.
Oh, yeah, I agree with that.
After Green Hill Zone, I pretty much forgot that I was playing with touch controls. I think it's a pretty cool game. I've been meaning to review it this week, but I've been too busy. But it's definitely in the A territory. I think they did a fantastic job with all the extras and everything because, I mean, you've seen the forums before people actually learned what it was all about, and they were bitching and moaning about how oh God, another Sonic game, and yeah, little did they know that it had some pretty awesome features. So
On
I
the
mean,
No,
yeah.
I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but like on the like retro front page comments, like there
Mhm.
are all sorts of like varying degrees of like people complaining of like, oh, why isn't this on Xbox Live Arcade already? And why can't this be on a real game console with real gamer this and that? And it's
Right.
like, come on. It's not like these
Tell them it
tablets have
already
like
is on a
gamer
real
kryptonite or
console. It's Sega Genesis Mega Drive. No, but
oh.
yeah, right, big burn. But no, I guess I mean my argument for it before people knew what it was all about was that like I respect Taxman and Stealth's efforts that they're actually presenting the game not only as it was but also giving you a little bit more and also presenting it in a really nice kind of like crisp, clear, widescreen. How many frames per second is it? 60?
Should be 60, yeah.
60 frames per second. And I equated that to how, Blu-rays, like we have these classic movies that look like shit now on film and VHS, and, DVD looks great, but it's always good. It's kind of like a form of preservation.
Hmm.
And I mean, I totally get how people complain about re-releases after re-releases, but there's a difference between a shoddy re-release like Sonic Adventure on Xbox Live and PlayStation Network, and re-releases with a little care and effort put into them, so you actually get to experience the game as it is, and also experience it in kind of that next generation setting. Like I think Jet Set Radio was a pretty great port. It wasn't perfect, but it definitely was. I mean, the game has problems on the Dreamcast to begin with, so it kind of ported over those problems to begin with. But it also, I thought it looked great. Nights into Dreams, I thought that one played well, especially after the patch for the controls, and just like with Sonic CD and Sonic One, I think if I'm going to have re-releases, I want them to put care into it. So in my mind, even though Sonic One's been out numerous times, it's I mean we've probably only had two or three worthy releases that can be compared to the original. I'd say like Sonic Jam is pretty good, and this one. So you know that's
Yeah,
my take.
I will definitely say, after like finishing Sonic 1 and had all the emeralds, I pretty much felt like I was just done with the game. Even though I unlocked like the extra features and stuff like that. After I
Mm-hmm.
did that 2 hour stream, I felt like, I really have nothing else that I want to get out of this game because it's
Yeah.
just Sonic 1 again. And considering that, I work for a site like Sonic Retro, of course
Right.
we're going to have people like me who have just played that game for the past 22 years and we've just kind of
Right.
expelled it of whatever it could do. Now,
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 2 is obviously going to be the next one, and that's the one that I'm the most curious about, mostly because
Mm-hmm.
of the two-player functionality. Like, I don't even know. I doubt they're actually going to do anything with it, and I will think that it's a darn shame because there are things that they could definitely try to do. Like, there are like tablet games that make use of like split screen functionality where one screen is pointed in one direction and the other pointed in the other direction, things like that, and the
Mm-hmm.
possibility of having additional zones over the original game would be a major plus.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what exactly we're going to be expecting with the second one, since the first one was like, I don't know, like I think Sonic 2 is like the golden standard of Sonic games amongst a lot of people who are big fans of Sonic, especially
Mm-hmm.
the older fans, things like that.
Wait.
So I don't know.
What about Sonic Heroes? I heard that one was pretty good.
That was a great
Eh,
game. It was the first game I've played, the first Sonic game on the real Sega console,
Oh,
GameCube. So
yeah.
they solved the underwater problem by having no underwater levels in the game in it ever. So hey,
see,
they
Go
innovative.
Sega.
they fixed Sonic.
Shadow
They
the
did
Hedgehog
fix
pretty
them.
much perfected the formula, and then Sonic 06 took it to the next level.
Oh my God, Sonic 06, I love that game. Silver's in it.
Silver's good. I heard he's coming back.
Yeah, I can't
As
wait.
is
He's gonna be in Sonic 1 remastered in a patch.
oh,
Oh
I
my
can't
god,
wait.
that's terrible. Uh,
Yeah. Well, let's move on to SEGAbits news. We're actually going to get back to Sonic One OS, iOS a little bit later, but yeah, we are going to E3. Not me, but George is planning on it, as well as who else?
Knuckles and Shigs. They
Knuckles
win
and Sid.
Knuckles 87 and Shigs, I guess, or Alex and the real names Alex and
Jason.
Jason. Yeah, I know their real names. I'm terrible with names, but yeah, they're going, and I'm gonna go. I guess tag along. We're planning. I'm already kind of talking to them about doing some video content. I'm not sure what we're gonna do. It's still kind of
Hmm.
sketchy, but we're obviously gonna. We're all gonna give our opinions on Sonic Lost World.
Cool.
What was good, what was bad, what we're concerned about. Hopefully, do
Hmm.
some interviews with some of the developers. And maybe I'll get to play the Xbox One and the PlayStation 4 if the lines aren't disgustingly huge.
Yeah. You could play the Wii U.
I could probably play the Wii U. Most
I can
likely,
sum up.
unless they have a Smash Bros. They're playable, then no way that's gonna happen.
Hmm.
Nah, no, everyone's going to be lined up for Smash Brothers. And I can sum up Sonic Lost Worlds right now. It ain't on PC. Fuck that shit.
Oh, you're a PC gamer,
I'm a I'm a Mac gamer, sir.
Mac gamer. Do
Oh
you,
wow, a Mac user.
oh my God, I feel like
Hello.
I'm getting ganged up, and I can't even say anything negative about Mac right now because I'm using Windows 8. So
I should
I
also
sh-
say I'm lying. I don't have a Mac.
oh
I have all the consoles I can afford, even a Wii U, which for all intents and purposes it does what it does.
Hmm.
it plays Nintendo games.
Yep, it plays Nintendo games, and all my Virtual Console games I spent $400 or $600 on. Kind of crazy.
Nice.
But yeah, we're gonna be there for the 3 days. I don't really know anything like specific. Like I don't think we've. Last year we were given kind of like, oh, this guy's gonna be there, this developer's gonna be there, and these are the interviews you guys could do.
Right.
So we haven't really been given anything like that. But
Hmm.
most likely expect content on like Total War,
Cool.
Company Heroes, Sonic Lost World, and whatever else they have there.
Yeah, maybe you guys could record a podcast after one of the nights.
That'd be pretty cool.
Like
Podcast.
do it. Just sit in a hotel room together.
It
Have a
sounds.
couple of beers.
That sounds. Yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to get drunk if I'm gonna be in a room with two other men talking
Hey,
about Sonic.
I'm with you.
But yeah,
I'm drunk. I'm drunk right now. So.
It's a Sega Sausage Fest.
Mm.
that's what's gonna be the name of
We,
the podcast.
we call them chili dog fests, sir.
Oh my god. All right.
So
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
very cool. Well, let's move on to our news section. Now, I know the first piece is talking a little bit about Xbox One. Now, seeing as how there's very little Sega related stuff, I want to keep the Xbox One discussion relatively short. Maybe we just go
Oh
around and say
man,
our thoughts because we could fill a whole. Come on, we could fill a whole
Barry doesn't
podcast.
want me to say negative things about the
No, you can
Xbox.
say negative stuff. I'll say
So
negative stuff about
What? I don't even care.
here,
you. No,
here,
I'm just kidding.
we can guarantee Sega has confirmed Xbox One support day
Yeah.
one. There, move on. We're
Okay.
good. That's all the Sega
Boom.
news we got.
So that
That's all
means
the second.
hopefully not exclusives because I'm not planning on getting it and I don't want to be forced to get it.
Hmm.
But I mean, if there is exclusives, good for Microsoft.
Well, I think George, you made a really good point in the forums where it's kind of like that PlayStation 3 kind of reaction where we don't know everything just yet.
Yeah,
And I mean, I know you're giving me shit for saying I'm going to be defending it, but no, I'll admit it was a really bad show.
it was a bad show, and
Um,
just based on that show, like if Microsoft did not want to be judged
mhm.
badly, they shouldn't have put that show on.
However, I will say I was impressed with like all the little like the multitasking, all those features, but I really wish that stuff took maybe 5 minutes, 10 minutes tops. I
Well,
mean, after the PlayStation 4 show, I could, probably count about 5 or 10 games. After the Xbox ones, I probably think of maybe four off the top of my head, and none of them I'm interested in. Aside from that Quantum Break one, that one looked kind of cool.
but they didn't really show
But
anything of it. I wish
but
they
they
showed
didn't.
more.
Yeah. So I mean, I've seen a lot of shit being talked, a lot of animated GIFs and, angry reactions. I'm gonna
Yeah,
wait until E3 before I have a firm opinion. I know that the used games thing was a big point of contention, but again, we don't know that much about it. I mean, I'll be discussing that with someone, and at one point I'll be like, "Oh God, it does suck," and then another point I'll be like, "Well, actually, this quote says that it's not gonna suck." So, I don't know. I
it's
really,
it, I think most people are going with the rumor that happened to become true. Like 90% of the rumor was true, and
mhm,
the other 10% wasn't even talked about, which is the
mhm,
DRM and
right.
the use fees. Um,
Mhm,
Well, the weird thing is that Microsoft can't even get the story straight themselves. Like you
yeah,
have Phil Harrison basically saying, "Yeah, we're going to impose a fee for anybody who tries to do that," and then you get Xbox support says, "No, we're not going to do a fee," and things like that. So,
yeah.
like, it's kind of appalling that in this day and date that we still have these companies that still don't really know how to market their hardware properly. Like what they're trying to do is give you a Trojan horse type of system
Mhm,
where it invades the family living room. They want you to use it to watch television. They want you to for watching movies and talking with
mhm,
people over Skype because Microsoft owns it. And basically, they're just trying to give you all the features that you would get on a PC, simplified for a easy to use experience. But what they're not accounting, what people are having to deal with, and as a result, is like a bunch of fees that they're going to have to take care of, like Xbox Live. You probably can't use Skype without Xbox Live. You probably can't you're not going to be able to use Netflix. You're probably
mhm,
not going to be able to. You're probably not going to be able to use a number of features just because you're going to be behind an additional paywall that they're not being upfront to you about in that conference, which
mhm.
is, and of course, all the features that they're touting, like Connect voice support and things like that, it's basically just a bunch of features that's already been in place on the Xbox 360. They're just
Right.
not very well refined. Like there were already, you heard about like a number of stories of people who watched it and their Connect sensor was detecting them during the conference saying Xbox stop, and it would stop video playback and things
Oh,
like
don't say
that.
that too loud. My Xbox on.
So, but like things like that, like they're just giving you like slightly refined technology, which basically means, hey, we're going to force you with this Connect, but hey, it's got better latency. Great,
Hmm.
but it's got all the other problems that Connect has. Like finger detection is still an issue, as in it doesn't exist.
Hmm.
So there's like it was said earlier, like there's just not enough information out there right now, and people like even Microsoft said, don't expect a lot of video game stuff during this conference, but like
Right.
people who aren't into video games aren't really going to want to buy a device called Xbox, like which is like the most dumbass 90s name you could think of. So like
Right.
you've already got a number of problems out of the gate with that conference alone, and they're like E3 is probably going to help cater to the video game audience somewhat, but
Hmm.
people are still going to be soured over the used games issue, which is obviously something that's
They need
barring
to
me
clear
from
that
wanting to
up
get one.
pretty much
they definitely need to clarify that better.
because I mean I've had discussions where I've laid out how I think it is and it sounds decent like but then I've seen other people lay out a possibility and it sounds like absolute shit. So I mean for example they have that thing where you can load the disc onto your console. Can PS4 do that by the way where you load the disc onto your console, take the
They
disc
ha-
out and you can still
they
play the game?
they haven't talked about it, and they haven't talked about it. It's going to be a feature.
Hmm.
They've just said that you could download the game off the internet and then like play it while it's
Right.
downloading. That's all they've said. And
Right.
like the PS3 had mandatory installs with disk in, obviously for DRM reasons, most
For
Right.
likely.
some for
Right.
some games, not all
Not
games.
all
Like
games, no.
there were
Yeah,
some games that would even do it as an optional feature, but even then,
Valkyria Chronicles is
Because
pretty cool. They did that.
it's
right,
pretty
because I mean,
absurd that
yeah.
why are we in such a day and age where we still have to use a format that's very inefficient for these new consoles? Like that's the part that really gets me is like why are we still using these discs if
People
you're
like their
saying
physical media.
and you're only giving 500 gigabyte of hard drive space for game saves and stuff like that. At least they're
Hmm.
giving you the option to attach an additional hard drive to that. But I don't want to do that. I don't even want to do that with my Wii U because I don't
Right.
really have that much room as is.
Well, what I want them to clarify is how much, because I'm not sure if they've clarified if every game will load all of it onto it, or if it'll be like you'll get the game, you'll put it in, and it'll say, "Do you want to load all this on?" And you go, "Yeah," and then it goes, "Enter your little pin," so your entire game is now on the system, rendering your disk useless until you remove the game from the system. Because in that sense, I completely understand why you can't share the disk with someone else, because it's kind of like you have all the data on your machine. So why would they allow you to create a copy? Now, if they make it easy enough where you can delete the game from your system, you don't have to go through this whole like crazy process of like removing the pin and like getting a new pin and all that nonsense, then I could understand that sort of thing working. I'm also wondering if they're going to work with places like GameFly and give them like rental discs, kind of like how Netflix has special Blu-rays that are rental only.
They probably will. I mean, we do have games out there that are already like that, like already acts out certain features. Like, I think there's like versions of Call of Duty out there that has the multiplayer functionality removed, simply
Okay.
because like there's like, it's going to be behind like maybe an online pass or something like that. Although, no, I
Mhm.
don't think Call of Duty does like online
They
passes.
don't do online passes. That's EA.
Yeah. So like, I think, but I do know like it is like Call of Duty or something similar to that. That's not EA related, where they just take out features of a game, the stuff like
Right.
that. But
But
I
they
guess.
certainly do exist. But that's definitely going to be a gray area that's going to be
Mhm.
have to be worked on in time, as time goes on. But right now, Microsoft is emanating this like very arrogant type of thing of like, people are just going to buy our stuff anyway type of attitude. Like,
Sony
Xbox 360
Sony
functionality is not good.
2006 basically. So when Sony in 2006, when people complained about the price, they said get a second job. Like, what kind of comment do you? How can you tell it to your consumers?
Yeah.
I didn't get the PS3 until like 2008 because I didn't want to spend over $400 on a console.
Mhm.
Don Matrix says that you are a backwards man and you should feel bad. How dare
Hey,
you want your backwards compatibility? I can
speaking
see
of
for like cost standards and functionality, it's better to not have backward compatibility in that box
mhm.
as is. That's
But the
gonna.
Connect's okay though. That doesn't make any sense to me.
Oh no, like Connect. Oh, Connect's a terrible thing to happen since it's going to be a mandatory thing for login. Not everybody has the room for the requirements for a Connect, so I don't know why exactly they're wanting to force that. Other than it's futuristic, it's like this. You're living in Star Trek now. We've fixed the gap, you guys. It's like no, you just have shitty voice recognition technology and infrared rocket science sensors.
It's like
Mhm.
I like Google now, like on the new Android. It works nice, but like imagine if Google every time you had to search for something, they made you use voice Google Now voice search. That'd be terrible. Nobody wanted to buy an Android device. Like I
It's
don't
better
know.
than I guess they figured that would be better than using a keyboard or something like that, but even then, it never
Yeah.
works right.
Can you imagine being in public and you're like searching for stuff and you have no privacy, so you have to say it really loud?
Yeah, they do it. Well, some of them do it anyway. I know people have no shame, and they have no problem showing that shame out in public.
Well, I'm sure come E3, George will be coming back going, guys, I played Xbox One. It's
Graphics.
really good. Oh.
Just just say Xbox shut down, and for every time that you're done, they no shut the.
This guy just keeps on walking around saying Xbox off.
Ah,
But I'm excited to see what they have game wise. I'm more
Oh
excited
yeah,
for that.
yeah.
But
Rare is teasing something.
I think that's just going to be like Killer Instinct 3 because there's like
Hmm.
been that trademark dispute that's been going on with Fox that they've apparently resolved. So that
Hmm.
they're probably going to use that as their bullet to get gamers back on with
well,
Hmm.
what they have left of Rare anyway.
I'm gonna be honest. I don't like Killer Instincts. I never liked it, even growing up, and so that doesn't excite me. But I can see why people would get excited. I just hope they don't use Connect. Like, oh, it's like a real fighter. That'd be lame.
Nah, they probably
Hmm.
won't do anything like that. Although you never know. They could surprise us one way or another. I just figured their Connect game would be, the next Connect Sports, and then hey, here's this core gamer experience, Killer Instinct. We still like you guys. Green, Mountain Dew, Doritos, munching. Mmm.
Oh,
Hmm.
those are my three favorite things.
Ah, sweet.
All right, we could
I'm blowing
actually
Well,
the.
we should probably move on because we've been talking about this. The only other thing I want to say about it is I think online connectivity is like or mandatory to play is a very bad idea, and I think Blizzard and EA have shown that with SimCity and Diablo 3.
hmm.
Well, if their excuse is going to be like, "Hey, we have too many people playing Xbox right now. Please wait until later." Like, that's again, you can't just tell me for the $60 I just paid you that I can just go back to my old Xbox or in SimCity's case, SimCity 2000, and just get my enjoyment out of that. Like, eventually these companies are going to have to figure out that as technology has not moved on as far as we had liked for it to have done, or at
Hmm.
least if you want this stuff to be in place, you need to start hitting the right people as to say like, hey, we need to get this stuff up and running right now. Like that Gaikai stuff is just, I don't exactly know how Sony expects that stuff to work like day one. I think that's going to be a train wreck.
That's going to be tough.
It is
And
going to be
they
tough, and it's probably going to be behind a paywall. But I'm not going to
Hmm.
use it. I'm going to tell you that right now. I don't see any. I think it's cool in like theory, like oh somebody could play the game for you. Like oh that's pretty awesome. I can see really good commercials and marketing coming out of that. I could also see it
Right.
not working really well either.
It won't have every game though. It won't be like, oh yeah, can I play that PlayStation 2 Harvey Birdman game? No, that won't be on there. You
Yeah, of
know,
Oh
course not.
man,
But I
I
actually
have that
thought that
game.
it's a
that,
good one.
that's something Nintendo would do. Like I don't know why, because Nintendo's
Right.
always about making games easier for people, and they even had like a mode in one of the Mario games where like it'll play the level for you.
I
Hmm.
So
don't know. I think stuff like that is okay if it's for like specific audiences that would play that stuff. I mean, New Super Mario Brothers, if I'm not mistaken, actually sold better than like Super Mario Galaxy because it's just netting in those people who grew up and stopped playing games after a certain period of time, and it's like, oh, they finally made another Super Mario Brothers game, and then they realize that those people are not going to have the same dexterity and mentality that most people would play games. So showing like you have people who like play games on YouTube and then people watch those videos. I equate it to something like that. Like you are basically watching someone else do something and you're trying to copy those skills based off of that, and it works. So
Hmm.
stuff like it's a super guide is what you're talking about. It started in like Mario Galaxy 2, New Super Mario Brothers, and they put it in Donkey Kong Country Returns. Like stuff like that is okay. Of course, even I will go like, shut the hell up, Nintendo. I know I'm dying too many times, etc. But I don't know. Like it's
I don't think it's bad because I mean I think some RPGs should even use that because I hate when I play I hate when I play RPGs and they're like not, or like a weird game where you will have to do something but it's not explained well and then you're just wandering around saying what do I have to do? I wonder what I have to do. Let me just touch everything.
I
That
played
happens
through
to me sometimes and it's always the stupidest shit
I
always.
I played through the entirety of Persona 4 and I didn't really know how exactly I could like stack different skills on top of each other and things like that, like our stat boosts basically. And I mean, I played through the game just fine, but like if you want to get all the really interesting stuff, you got to start playing big, and you especially need to do that for the harder difficulties.
Persona games are actually really well done games.
Oh, they are. Of course, but the thing is, like most Shin Megami Tensei games, I hear are like notoriously hard. The
Talk about
bosses.
Sonic.
Oh yeah, we have
Oh,
to talk about Sonic.
Sonic Chronicles is a shit RPG.
Sonic. No, they're making Sonic Chronicles 2. It's coming out next week. Um,
Next week?
Connect support.
well, it's on everything. It's on iOS, Android, Connect, Mobile.
Finally,
Game.com.
No, no, no. After a few months of complaining about not having news about a Sonic game, Sega finally shut a lot of people up by announcing Sonic Lost World, which
Really?
Jurassic.
has, yeah,
Shutting them
That's my.
up? Shutting them up
That's
is actually the wrong phrase to use on this one because everybody was just complaining.
and of
silencing
course
them
keep
in
in
a new.
mind this was like before the Xbox One news came out because people
Yes.
were like the of course the main argument is obviously Nintendo has exclusive rights to publish 3 Sonic games. One of them is Sonic Lost Worlds on Wii U and 3DS. Second one is Mario and Sonic at the Winter
Fuji.
Olympics 2014.
And what's the third
Soichi.
one?
Sonic
Question
Chronicles 2?
mark the Hedgehog.
Yeah, right.
So
I'm assuming it's gonna be like maybe I'm hoping it's that Mario Kart racer, that crossover. That would be pretty awesome, I think.
I don't
that's
know.
it's kind of a bizarre thing to do for like a third game, but I can definitely see something like that happening. But I don't know if that's exactly. Well, I don't know. It'll probably make people shut up again,
Mm-hmm.
so to speak. It's like, oh, okay, fine, it's just another Mario and Sonic game, but they're racing this time.
Right, right. Well, so what's your thoughts on it being an exclusive?
It's nothing like we haven't really seen before. Like we've already got a
Right.
number of exclusive Sonic games on Nintendo, and it stems well before like Secret Rings. Like we've got, well, okay, Sonic Advance did come out on like N-Gage, excuse me, and Android,
Hmm.
but
Engage.
like you've also got like Sonic Advance 2, 3, Pinball Party, Battle, all that stuff, and like those are like most of the, like at least three of those are like 2D Sonic platformers that people have been wanting for like forever, and
Hmm.
hey, we finally got it. And of course, like yeah, it sucks for those people who didn't intend on buying a Wii U, but
Right.
the argument that some people are making, like, well, why don't they just have it on PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360? And
Hmm.
the answer is basically that they don't want you to buy, or they want you to buy the new consoles. Like, they're
Right.
trying to make that push for Sonic where we need to get them on newer systems, and this is the time where this is going to happen. So, no, just because it's on Wii U does not necessarily mean it would have been on PS3 or 360 alternatively.
Hmm. Yeah, that I mean, I was annoyed initially, and I thought about it, and I'm like, it really wouldn't make sense to release their big holiday game on the 360 and the PS3, and at the same time, it wouldn't make sense. I guess it would be possible, but it would be very. I think it would be risky for them to release it on the PS4 and the Xbox One as well, especially with them being new consoles. And I'm sure a new Sonic game wouldn't be the game everyone would be flocking to buy on
And
release. It would be the big first party titles probably.
pretty much. And of course, the last major Nintendo and Sega collaboration was F-Zero GX. And I mean, that's time wasted that could have been spent making another Super Monkey Ball game. And they put it on this fucking F-Zero game.
Yeah.
You don't like the F Zero game? That was a good game.
Oh, I'm just fucking around. Of course,
Oh,
I like that game. I just think it's absurd, like the arguments that a lot of people are coming up with because of this, and it's literally just looking at all those comments on like the forums and the front page and things like that.
Hmm.
It's just basically people who are just trying to say, I don't want a Wii U. Like you don't have to be so violently opposed to the idea. It's just coming out. It's just coming out on a system. Video
Right.
games, man.
Yeah. And I think it's a good thing that's an exclusive just because with All Stars Racing Transformed on the Wii U, they really didn't do much in terms of the second screen. I mean, they did as much as they could do with the rear view mirror and with the map,
And
but
5 player mode.
yeah, right. But I think if they did a Sonic game from the ground up on the Wii U, they could really do some cool stuff with the gamepad. Now, I don't want the gamepad to like infringe on the actual Sonic gameplay, but I think it could be pretty cool to like maybe we had that picture appear with those six characters. Maybe that character would exist within the gamepad, and you'd do something with them, kind of like the Chow, but like as you play. Or maybe they'd have like an overworld map where you'd fly the tornado to different places, kind of like the Sonic Rush adventure where you fly take the ships to different islands.
Exactly. I
Um,
mean, it's basically just, as you said, they're just trying to concentrate development on one platform, which would make
mhm.
things tremendously easier for the development staff as as the game progresses on towards the final build. But
Mhm.
like, uh, you know, I don't know. I can't really say what exactly I would expect would be in terms of like gameplay for this Sonic game
Mhm.
because we've been hearing for a long time that they were going to basically relaunch Sonic again after Generations, and it just looks
Mhm.
like, hey, we're just kidding. We're just going to make another Sonic game, probably
Yeah.
using the same engine and things like that. But now we're going to refine it to what we can do with the Wii U, which
Yeah.
I'm totally fine with that. And with the only thing I could really say with that screenshot that was put out today on Sega's blog,
Mhm.
uh, one of them looks like Echo the Dolphin on a pike. Like I
He
don't know
does.
what that's supposed to mean.
Well, maybe it's
Because
Echo,
finally,
but I thought it was kind of intriguing the whole like idea of that planet, and it looked like those pieces were kind of like either coming together or coming apart. Maybe they do something like where the levels are always changing. Maybe there's sections that happen before other sections, like the. I'm not exactly sure, but when you look at that, like you could imagine maybe there's multiple start points. Maybe you might enter a level and it's bigger since you last left it because more of that lost world kind of planet came together. I don't know, but I think there's definitely a lot of possibilities. I'm getting sort of a Unleashed vibe with the big planet thing, but I'm also getting a Sonic Colors vibe with these weird creatures that seem to correspond to different lands.
It'd be pretty cool
What?
if they're like, oh, you know how Transforms and Sonic Generation kind of had like a bunch of mashup of levels from other Sonic games or other franchises and
Hmm.
Transformed. It'd be pretty cool if Lost World had like themed levels for other Sega franchises. That'd be pretty cool. I'd play
That would be
that.
fun.
Like I would like to play a Fantasy Zone with super fast Sonic. That'd be pretty cool.
They need to
Maybe
put
this
more
is
Sega fan service in.
maybe
For
this
sure.
is the sequel to Generations where you have to save Sonic's shitty friends and you're going through the worst zones of the Sonic
Oh
history.
man.
Oh right, yeah, Epic Sonic,
First level is Labyrinth Zone.
of
Oh
course.
man, right away. Started off good.
But
Actually, in all seriousness, I wonder if this has anything to do with those silly rumors of like Sonic Adventure 3. Like, if there's anything, like, I don't know. I think all that stuff is just kind of hogwash that was just made up. But,
probably.
like, I don't know. If it would be anything where we would start seeing, like what I would kind of like to see would be, like, the ability to, like, play as, I actually would like to be able to play as, like, Tails or Knuckles and things like that. I
Hmm.
mean, the thing is, I don't know how exactly they would be able to let you play as those characters with stuff like, how they've made Sonic Unleashed and things like that, where it's specifically tied around Sonic.
Hmm.
So,
I think the only way would be that they would have to rebuild the levels from the ground up and like basically make a game for Tails and Knuckles and have their own gameplay mechanics. You can't just have throw them in there and then just expect them to play like Sonic.
well,
Hmm.
they're like giving them the boost ability would not only be kind of unfair, it would just be kind of like, okay, whatever. I don't know how exactly that's supposed to be the case.
They look like reskins.
I wouldn't
Yeah.
mind. I wouldn't mind playing like a Tails one, where it's more focused on platforming and just. I guess like I guess it would be kind of stupid saying like Mario Galaxy, but like he has a longer jump than Sonic, so I would mean like like jumping and platforming and just
But
design a level around that compared
he
to
can also
like
correct himself in case he messes up, unlike Sonic.
yeah compared to Sonic, which is going fast all the time. Let's be honest, when you play a 3D Sonic game, the first thing you do is double jump and try to go super fast.
Yeah, right.
So
Pretty much.
that's how they designed Sonic games and their level. I mean, the new ones. And I don't think Tails and Knuckles should be based around that. I think they should be more platform. I think this is
Hmm.
like Sonic Team's chance to like show that they can make a good platformer like Mario or something with the other
Well,
characters.
what do you
You know,
think of? Oh, go ahead.
no, it's just the one thing that I think is actually kind of surprising. With that boost ability where Sonic can just go 0 to 360 in a second, etc., etc. Like, you would see in like cartoons or commercials and things like that where Sonic would just immediately start running at full speed. Like, it wasn't up until, Sonic Unleashed or, Sonic Rush where he could just immediately go at his max speed by just a press of a button. Like, I don't know how exactly it took us this long to have
Right.
that kind of ability.
So you're
I just
saying
I just think,
Adventures of Sonic the Hedgehog had the boost before anything else?
yeah, it did actually.
It did, because
Come
he'd
on.
just be standing there and like the Flash, he'd just go zip and
And
boost him.
he knew how to stop immediately. Like, that's what the current Sonic has a hard time doing, and I don't understand.
It's Jaleel White, man. He needs the costumes and needs
He
them.
and snarky remarks.
Can I do
I would
it?
I would love to see costumes become a part of the gameplay where you need to put Sonic in disguises.
Why do
I
you
wouldn't be
want to?
surprised if that actually happens.
I'm
You just
just
give him a
joking.
That's
he's
gonna
got
be
a
some creepy shit going on the internet. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yeah,
Sonic's
right.
going to
Hey,
here
how
goes
about
Sonic in
the
Mexico land.
yeah, I'd like that.
Sorry.
Samba de Amigo. How about the 3DS version? Do you think it's just going to be another Sonic Rush Dimps port, or are they actually going to attempt to make a 3D game this time?
I'm pretty sure it's going to be another Demps adventure. Like, that's
Yeah.
exactly how I would see this happening. Like,
Hmm.
I mean, given the history of how they've been, putting out these Sonic games, especially for like handheld versions of the console games, they're probably not going to have the manpower to be able to handle development on both a Wii U platform and a 3DS, especially
Hmm.
since expectations of like graphics and things like that have escalated tremendously well past the Game Boy Advance to the 3DS. Like you can basically put a console game on the Nintendo 3DS and it's have it basically run as is.
Hmm.
But so they're probably going to give those development rights to DIMPs or at least something similar, just to be able to take care of that, take care of that aspect of the contract, so to speak.
Right. Yeah, well, we'll know a lot more pretty soon. Actually, the 29th is when they're going to be doing some more reveals. I don't know if it's going to be just photos or if they're actually going to give us a full-on trailer. And then what was it? June 11th, I think there's a 3DS uh, show, and I think also Famitsu. I think I'm saying that right. Magazine
Yeah,
has a feature that's appearing tomorrow, and it might have some Sonic Lost World material.
Well, there should be like a full-on reveal on May 29th, as what I
Hmm.
recall. But if anything, like I do want to see if they can have both the Wii U and 3DS versions communicate with each other in some sort of way.
Definitely, yeah.
I don't know how exactly that would work, but something like I don't know, you get more levels. Even if it's something that rubbish, it would still be something. Like
It would be cool if they had parts of the story in one, like some of the story was the same, but then other parts you would see. Like I think in Colors they had an extended ending on the 3DS version. There was more happening in that than there was on the console one. It would be cool if you get to see, because I don't like it when it's like, oh,
yeah.
I'm just skipping through a text cut scene of something I saw on the console version, like with Generations at the beginning.
Well, you get
So
also get Sonic's friends in the DS version of Sonic Colors. Like Knuckles is there for some reason, as is I don't know.
yeah, I kind of like that.
It's kind of neat.
But yeah, so we'll learn more. Let's move on to some more Wii U news. We have
uh,
Yakuza. You ready for it?
1 and 2 HD.
Yeah.
Oh man, that's good. That's a megaton announcement, right? I mean,
Boom.
at least they made nice gifts, like Negoshi and the president or whatever it was Nintendo with
Yeah.
their bling shining. That was pretty cool. You could tell you could tell everything was picked by him too because like there's like a leopard print in the back. It's just so ridiculous.
It's
But
nice.
I don't know. I guess it's not going to come to the United States.
Who
Um,
knows? What if it
Well,
does?
there's always a slim chance that it could, but then again, we're still waiting on Phantasy Star Online 2 to hit, and even
and
then, we're getting washy numbers about that.
and the collection came out last year on the PS3 and it didn't even come out. Yakuza 5 hasn't come out, so I'm assuming and the whole new direction of Sega, they're not going to be bringing over Yakuza games anymore.
Hmm.
That's what it seems like because they're being really picky on what they release on boxed.
Hopefully,
Oh, right.
they'll at least do something where someone like Atlas would be able to pick up the rights to publish and translate that game or something like that,
I would
or I'm
love
sorry,
that.
localize that game.
I would love
But
Atlas to bring it over because I think they'll market it. I mean, they know how to market to with a low budget. Like Persona has blown up since the last two games, and they don't have TV commercials. They're not sold at Walmart. They're not. They're very. They know how to advertise to their fan base.
I mean,
Hmm.
well, pretty much. Like, I will also say that Persona 4 really exploded when the anime hit on like Hulu and things like that. And I'm actually surprised that Sega hasn't tried to follow that kind of success by like with Valkyria Chronicles. There was an animated series based on that, but we never got it for whatever reason. Like, I
Hmm.
wonder if something like that would have actually helped. But of course, back in the case of like Yakuza, I remember at least for like the longest time, like especially for something like Sakura Wars, like Sega was just very picky on just letting people bring that game over because it's a really un-American. It's like it's a dating sim mech combat RPG type of game. So stuff like that probably won't do necessarily well. And of course, we finally got a Soccer Wars game a few years ago on Wii and PlayStation 2,
The
but
worst one, but yeah.
yeah, I don't really recall how much they actually benefited from that, but I hope, moves like that won't sour Sega from bringing stuff like, this Yakuza collection to the Wii U. I mean, of course, at this rate, Wii U could definitely use some more games, and even if they are just like console ports, it'll at least be something to tide people over somewhat. And for something like Yakuza, it's not exactly something that would have done exceptionally well, but for people who are starved for a game, it might actually help both Sega and Nintendo in this case.
Worst case scenario, they could just bring it to a downloadable service.
That's what they're doing with the next Ace Attorney game. Like, you never know what exactly these people might do. Like
It's true.
digital distribution would definitely throw out that one cost factor of distribution, like physical distribution. Like, just put it out on the internet, and then people can just download it. The day that the game comes out. Like,
I think a good example is that the One Piece game they released on PSN. They released it for what, like 50, $40 or whatever, and
holy God.
I don't even know how much they cost, but it was a full title, but they just did subtitles onto it, and apparently it did so well on there that I guess the next one's coming out, but on disc. So
Huh.
it worked for them. I don't see why. I mean, I don't know why Sega won't. I mean, they could afford to translate some Japanese stuff, and the second game's already translated. I
I
mean,
thought the first game was translated too
it
already.
was dubbed. It was voiced
Oh.
over, but it was voiced over so badly that
Mhm.
I rather them just subtitle it because
Mark
like
Hamill did a voice.
yeah, he did a good job on his voice, but everybody else called it in, and the script was terrible. They like added fuck every 5 minutes. So
Oh,
like
it's
they'll
one of
walk around, they'll
those.
be all, "What the fuck is up in the street? Fuck, fuck," and it's like,
Oh.
dude, what the fuck? And then it's
Did they
like
get?
Kazuma
Did they,
turned around and he's like, "Bring it, fuckers," and shit like that. It's like
did they get somebody from ADV to work on something like that? Jesus Christ.
they had a lot of celebrities on the goddamn thing, and I think that's why they didn't want to bring. I think they thought it was gonna be a huge hit. They had Mark Hamill, whatever, did Goro Magami, whatever, the guy with the eye patch.
Of course.
One of the bosses was the guy that played what's his name, Mr. Blonde from the Reservoir Dog movie.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and he did a terrible job. He just basically talked like he was in a podcast or something. It was a
Wow.
good game, and I heard that all the problems I had with the first one when it came out on PS2 have been fixed on the re-release. Like the loading times have been fixed, and when you fight, you couldn't turn direction. And like if you were fighting one guy and somebody was teaming behind you, you couldn't turn around and hit them. But apparently they fixed that in part two. But apparently on the port 1 and 2,
Hmm.
they brought over all the fixes to the first one.
Hmm.
So that's good. I mean, I think it would be worth releasing at least on digital,
Yeah, I think that'd be worth it.
I
especially.
mean, I haven't really played any of the Yakuza games, but I would assume if you were looking for the next Shenmue game, that's probably your best bet at this point for something at least spiritually in succession, right?
I would say it's more of like a beat 'em up with an open world. So I wouldn't say Shimu right away because Shimu is like totally like whatever. It's like more of about
Intricate, like,
yeah.
exploration.
It's not. It's
Okay,
one of
that.
those games that where you. It's not about fighting, but it's about exploring the
Hmm.
world and being in that world. Yakuza is more about doing mini games, wacky side stories, and just like a 3D Streets of Rage beat 'em up
Okay, that makes sense then.
with an over the top man drama story where everybody takes off their shirts at the end of the game and fight it out.
I think it gets the Shenmue comparison because it has so many like unnecessary menial little mini games, and it
Yeah,
takes place in Japan.
yeah.
Doesn't it have some of the development staff working on it too?
I think so. It's
Obviously, Suzuki's not one.
Jet Set Radio staff, and yeah, isn't the Kingpin from Jet Set Radio that guy? He's in the first Yakuza, right?
Yeah, he's in a side quest.
That's
Huh.
funny.
Yeah, I mean, they're really, really well thought out. I guess games. I know a lot of people hate them because there's a lot of little things that you're like, they could do this better. Like they released 3, 4, and 5, and they all kind of look the same. Like the engine hasn't been updated. It feels like Sega's really going low budget with them. And I wouldn't be shocked that they're releasing 1 and 2 on Wii U in hopes of getting an audience, and then
Hmm.
releasing 3, 4, and 5, and then probably doing a sixth one on it
That's
That
because
wouldn't be a bad thing.
That's strange. I thought Yakuza was actually doing really well in Japan.
Oh no, it's doing really well, but like it's not like they upgrade the engine or anything. It's not like
Oh.
when you have a game that sells a lot, you usually put a lot of more money into it. It feels like Yakuza's just like it's doing well. Let's just make a new game on the same engine. Like
Right.
I think it was Yakuza 5 now I think about it. Yakuza 5 they Sega of America actually like cut stuff out. Or
no,
is
that
it
was
Yakuza
three,
4?
three, three,
Oh, it's
three.
3. Okay. Like if as long as they can not do that, like I can definitely see people actually wanting to buy stuff like that's also another factor is just when they would bring the Yakuza games over here, like for whatever reason, they just feel like, oh, this is going to be completely lost on our American audiences and things like that. When you've already got like Japanese RPGs like Persona, where they would just keep in the Japanese references, even if it was somewhat integral to gameplay. Uh, but I haven't really heard that many people. I really haven't really heard anybody complain about issues like that. So
Hmm.
you're kind of catering to a very specific audience with something like Yakuza. So you may as well try to be as authentic as you possibly can. I mean, there is like a thin line of like, do we do this part where our audiences may or may not get it, or should we just kind of get this out of here entirely in the case of like, making players confused and things like that.
They cut
Like with
out. They cut out
mhm,
hostess, where you talk to the women and try to, you know, do what Japanese men do to women. Um, give them a
playing
bunch of
cards.
money and give them a bunch of money and hope to go on a date. And they cut out some of the mini games like the Japanese chess. I don't know what it's called. And but they brought it back with four. But on four they took one of the games out, one of the mini games. It was Answer because Sega America said they couldn't really. It would take too much money to edit the little, I guess, the JPEGs or whatever, or the graphics. It was too graphic driven, the mini game. So they cut it out, and it was just a quiz game. So it was just a mini quiz game that you go in the arcades and play, and it only had like three or four optional questions or some crap like that. I don't know. I wasn't really
That,
that bad about that. Wasn't that bad, but taking out hostess, that was a large part of the game, so that's kind of weird.
yeah, it's very strange. Now, in terms of like graphics, I would assume they would at least put in something like subtitles or something like that over the images or something like that. Of course, for cases like that, obviously when they translate games, all the programming, all the coding basically has to go back to Sega Japan because it's basically the same developers making the English translation of the game, unless they contracted somebody to try and take care of it for them. But usually that doesn't happen. Usually you don't get something like working designs. So I don't, I really don't understand, other than maybe monetary issues, like they were saying, where they just can't really put forth the effort. But even then, as Sega's still a fairly big company to be able to take care of something like that, so I don't exactly see how that would not be something that would be doable.
Hmm.
Unfortunately, I don't have obviously I don't have the utmost experience, but it's basically just all that I've read up on in terms of like how exactly development of like translated games is actually handled, and it's obviously notes that are made by Sega of America, sent back to Japan, and then Japan does whatever that needs to be done to take care of that aspect, and then you get a finished product.
Yeah.
We could talk about let's see.
Ooh, Sega Sammy saying fiscal net profit. That awesome Aliens Colonial Marines game shipped 1.3 million, and that
So
horrible Sonic racing game where it's like, why can't he run? Why is he in a car?
why is he in a
Uh,
boat? He can run
I
on
know,
water.
right? I mean, come on.
He's got
One
wings.
point. It's stupid. 1.36 million people bought that. I mean, come on. Aliens can't sell as much as that. Come on. So
I mean, when I got
Should I start about how fantastic Aliens was?
it's a great game,
It's
man.
I'm glad that Gearbox did it. I mean, they made Borderlands 2. They made the Duke Nukem game. All great.
That Duke Nukem
I got
game
to
was
see
hilarious.
okay, hang on, hold on. I got some things to say about that. Okay, Gearbox did only the multiplayer aspect of Duke Nukem Forever. There was actually Triptych who was already working on Duke Nukem Forever, and that was
Uh-huh.
like the third time that they restarted it. And then they contracted some other company to make the console versions, and those are shit.
Well,
So
technically, Aliens wasn't even made by Gearbox either, so I
no,
mean.
it wasn't.
Yeah.
It was made by Timegate, and boy, do you know about the success they endured because of that.
Well,
Yeah.
they've been pretty fucked for a while already, to be honest. But
Well, yeah.
yeah, they've been. I guess they're a publisher for their game Section 8.
Hmm.
They tried to sue them, and I guess they sued them back, and then took the franchise from them. So they
Wow.
don't have a franchise, and I guess they went they went out of business and they went bankrupt. And when they filed bankruptcy, I don't know why, but one of the things they filed for was $37.80 they owed a pizza place.
That's
And I'm
funny.
like, if you can't fucking afford to pay for that, like you shouldn't be making games. Like that's bad management of the
Yeah.
studio.
Now I live
Wow.
in the same state as Gearbox and Timegate, and I actually went to their community event when they were showing off Colonial Marines.
I mean,
And I was already like at that time I was already saying stuff like, this is not really ready for prime time. And unbeknownst to me, that game had been in development for over 7 years or something like that.
well,
Like,
it's been announced since like 2007 or six or something.
yes, and seeing it in that playable state, like before its February release, was really not a good sight to see when I
Hmm.
first played it. And I paid $100 to play that game as much as I want.
Did you?
Don't
Why do you pay a hundred
don't pay
bucks?
because they had okay for their community event. They had like you could sign up for free to go to their thing, but you also had a VIP deal for like $100. You could get shorter lines to be able to play their games, and all two of them that they were showing off, and you got like front row seating for their little conference things that they would hold like every hour or so.
How many people
Like
were there? Like 15?
no, there was actually like a lot of people there. Not that many people bought the VIP pass, but a lot of people bought the free stuff, and they gave you some decent stuff. They gave you this Trump's card deck of Borderlands 2. They actually gave you a decent Logitech mouse with Borderlands 2 branding on it. That was actually
Hmm.
pretty cool. Like, except for the whole Borderlands aspect of it, but anyway, that that trip is most definitely was not that trip was not worth going to, but I figured I'd just go there, since with Sega Retro freshly launched, we should probably have more Sega news on there. So I got to like talk with some of the Gearbox guys.
Hmm.
Um, they were just showing off their demos that they were showing off at like PAX and E3. And both of those demos had a lot of spotty problems. Like I was already like falling through floors. I was like you would have to go through like the entire reload animation for the gun clip to actually register correctly, just all these other fundamental problems, and none of it was really they were not really showing the single player aspect of the campaign. They said, of course, it turns out the multiplayer campaign was the single player campaign, but with more scripting.
Why didn't you did you just tell him like, you know what, this game doesn't look like it's fucking made right? Like it looks pretty shitty. Like
I told them like there's a lot of problems in here that just feel like that this is not quite done, and I actually got to talk with some of the programmers behind the game and things like that, and they said we actually did fix this in a build, and we've actually done it like years ago. Or months ago. We just haven't really updated it in these builds because they just take too long, and we have to test them to make sure that our potential consumers don't run into any potential issues. Of course, at the same time, I also asked them, "How's the Wii U version going?" And they're like, like this is exactly the reaction I was getting. I was like, we don't really have anything to say on that yet,"
yeah, that's
which is
always
basically they were saying we didn't start it.
always a good sign, right?
Hmm.
Exactly.
Um
So
yeah, I talked to a few people that test games for Sega, and they always when that game was being tested, they were just telling me like, yeah, don't count on this being a AAA title. That's it. I was like, that's all I needed to
yeah,
know. I was already
God,
embracing for it, but I didn't think it was gonna be this shitty. Like I was like, God damn, like they didn't
you
put
Right.
no
just
effort into this game.
pulled another Sonic 06 on us.
Well, it sold, so.
I mean, yeah,
Yeah,
it's
it's
sold,
sold.
but then they have to
But
pay Fox their royalty check.
right, right.
So maybe Sega should just really focus on strengthening their IPs and maybe maybe like hyping up their All Stars racing game since it sold more than Aliens. I mean, it was on
Right.
more consoles, but
Well,
I
here's
think
the thing, because like nobody was really expecting, Colonial Marines to turn out like that, but Sega really should have been hammering on them to kind of check on the progress of the game, and it looks like nobody at Sega really knew how exactly to manage this kind of game. But with the success of like Borderlands, why wouldn't you want to work with Gearbox and things like that?
of
Of
course.
course, but then it turns out, there's all this these internal weird politics of they just use Sega's funding to make Borderlands 2 and all this other weird stuff. It's just a headache all around, and you can point fingers everywhere. Like it's basically everybody who is involved with this product is at fault, like no matter
Hmm.
what. Like it's equally as much as Gearbox's fault as it is Sega's, as it is Time Gates as well. And the respective parties are paying the price. And of course, thinking back to that event, I can recall that there were actually a number of people who were there just because of Aliens, and I can't imagine like what their reaction is now that they've played this game, other than it's just another shooter.
Yeah. I mean,
Sega's
and that might be where the sales are coming from. It's just mainly Aliens fans who will buy anything, and they played it and they said, "Oh, it wasn't bad. It wasn't great.
I
Move on."
think now that Sega has done these licensed games, they've done Marvel games, they've done fucking I don't well, they've done other fucking I can only think about Marvel recently, but
Golden Compass.
they did Golden Compass, terrible by the way.
Fun fact: actually, one of the programmers who worked at Gearbox worked on Iron Man 2. He
Oh
wasn't
wow.
proud of his work either.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say right now. I was like, you're not helping the cause right now.
No, but I'm sure I'm sure he's a hard worker. Like he's got kids, he's married. He's trying to do his honest work. Like it's not
It's not his fault.
like everybody. There are people at Gearbox and Timegate who do want to do a good job, and for those people we do. I commend those kind of people for them. For those kind of things.
I think Sega should be very strict on who they allow to work on their properties. I think Gearbox obviously showed that they're not fucking responsible enough to be working on other people's games.
Yeah, people are definitely not going to want to come to Gearbox after this Colonial Marine stuff happened.
And
Right.
I think Sega should start thinking maybe we should start using our in-house developers that are some of them are award-winning, and have them actually do games on IPs and see if they could do it. I mean, you already gave these other companies a chance to do a Captain America game, a Thor
Hmm.
game, Iron Man game. Like, I think AM2 could have done a pretty damn good Iron Man game, but
Definitely.
they already do Afterburner, and that's already a gameplay aspect of Iron Man.
I'm
Hmm.
wondering if the stuff like that is just being handled by Sega of Europe, and Sega Japan just really isn't checking up
Interested?
on those things whatsoever.
They need to start being more connected. That's what they need to start doing.
Well, most
Hmm.
Japanese companies need to be connected with their Western developers, which they're still not really doing.
Yeah, it's very sad, but well, I mean, we'll see what happens. I mean,
Yeah.
I think
We're,
Sumo Digital is probably one that should be trusted. I mean, they've released most of the games they released with Sega have been really, really good or well done, and the fans
Hmm.
have been happy with it.
they're all right. I'm
They're
not
all
saying
right.
like
You
they're
hate them.
the greatest games, but you will find more satisfaction in like Transform than you would with like Aliens.
Oh yeah,
Um,
yeah.
and I can safely say that I'm responsible for Sumo Digital's success, as I am the king owner of almost all the versions of Transformed. Thank you, thank you.
You
I
you paid their you're the one that did 1. You bought 1.36 million
3.6. Yeah.
copies. Yeah.
yes, well, so
Or
basically, like I reviewed Transformed on Sonic Retro. I actually requested for the PS3 version, and the 360 version came out. Well, all the versions came out early, and I picked up the 360 one since we were probably going to do some live streaming of the multiplayer, and I can get this game reviewed way faster than Sega can give me this copy, because they were going to give it to me like about a week after the game had come out
ooh,
normally.
yeah, they usually
But
do it the
since the
next
Wii U
day.
had come out,
Gone.
yeah, pretty much. But like places like Toys R Us started selling Wii U games early, and they accidentally put out all the versions of Transformed for consoles. So I just started picking up. I just picked up the 361, and then when I got the Wii U one, I figured people are probably gonna play on Sonic the Transformed on Wii U, so I may as well just do that. And it turns
Mhm.
out for a stream, we only got one person who played Transformed on Wii U. Oops. But yeah, like I have those versions. I also have the PC version, and I've been seriously contemplating at least the Vita version. But I don't think I should do this anymore. I don't think I should do that anymore.
I
You need to
think,
slow down.
Yeah.
yeah, wasn't the Vita version on discount on like Plus or something, or given away for free.
Oh, I don't know about that. I do know that like you can get it on Amazon for like 23.60 or something like that. Like it's gone down in price considerably.
Well, yeah, nobody's buying Vita games.
Well, yeah, I am. Well,
Well,
okay, not really.
one, no, there you go. I think the Vita needs a lot of work to be done on that thing.
Hmm.
There's a lot of work that needs to be done, but it's an all right system for what it is. But you've still got a long ways to go before we can just go, before the Vita can become something more than just the PlayStation 3 port machine, as it's pretty much known as now.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
But it doesn't have Colonial Marines on it. Damn it.
I know
You're
it's
you're
gonna be.
missing out on the market,
Damn it.
Sega.
Oh, and I guess the next bit of news is Sonic 1, iOS, and not 3DS. I'm assuming
Yeah, that
that's a
the
3D
typo.
3DS
no
version
no
is definitely out. There's actually
Oh,
people who
there
record
is
footage on
one.
YouTube.
There
Yes.
is
mhm.
one. And I heard that the 3D sucks on it. Oh.
Oh, it does.
Yeah, like people were gonna buy for 3D anyway.
I
Um,
mean, the most in terms of 3D of what I would expect would probably be something like Kirby's Adventure or Kid Icarus. Like the
they said
3D in those games are okay.
there was an article on it, and they said that like it was like only the only real 3D part was the logo in the beginning.
Oh, that's really unfortunate, especially since apparently like 3D Space Harrier is now coming out for the 3DS in Western territories. Like I definitely want to try and check something like that out.
Hmm.
Here's the article I was talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
I might get the two arcade ones and skip out on
I hear
Sonic
the
and
iOS
Altered
ver-
Beast.
I hear the iOS version is shit. I don't know who backs something like that. Jesus Christ.
For what?
No, no, no. I was just trying to poke a jab. Like,
Oh.
so yeah, the iOS version came out. It came out on, I believe it was the 16th for Android, and I think the 15th around midnight or something like that for
Mhm.
iOS users.
oh, I know
And
it came out. I was saying the 3DS. I was like, wait, for 3DS. But yeah,
yeah,
I forget that the 3DS had that 3D port of Sonic.
it is definitely not the same version as the Retro Engine edition,
I have
but
no idea why they just didn't get him just port that one over to 3DS and like have somebody else add just a stupid 3D layer.
I wouldn't be surprised if something like that was going to happen. I mean, all it would take for is just Taxman, because like right now, apparently they're just trying to fix all the glitches that are in the current version. Did you
Mhm.
guys hear about the save glitch feature or save
No.
feature? Apparently, there's a glitch. I haven't really read too much upon it, but apparently there's like save game issues with the iOS version where it will wipe out your saves. I don't know exactly how or why that happens. One issue I do know of is if you activate the debug mode and then you quit the game and go to like a time trials game or a time attack level, you can just use time attack to just skip through the entire level and just have like a very short time uh, on the short leaderboards or whatever. So stuff like that is unfortunate. Probably why we're not seeing like console versions of this game is so that they can fix issues such as that one,
Hmm.
and also means that Sega needs to hire, testers, not people who just kind of get a paycheck at the end of the day. But we'll see about that. Um,
Right.
but like, outside of those, unfortunate issues, at least I mean, it's as we've stated before, it's a very good version of Sonic One. Could use a little bit of work to get it more perfect, but if you are, jonesing for another copy of Sonic One to play, there you go.
Go
At the
for it.
very least, I do know, going back to the 3DS version that we have now. I mean, at least they did put in stuff like the spin dash option, and I think
Hmm.
there is some time attack stuff in there, but I don't you're probably not going to get like the additional characters, the revised layout, level layouts, and things like that, or the
Yeah.
additional debug features. Um, Now, I wouldn't be surprised, like I said, if Sega of America like commissioned Tax and Stealth to just port the game to the 3DS once when they start making their console versions. And of course, miscommunication happens in Sega pretty much all the time. Like Nights on PS2 came out in 2008, and we didn't get it until like 2012. So stuff like that will definitely happen. Like people internal at Sega did not know that Port of Nights happened. So it's very possible that they don't even know that this 3DS version is out.
It's
Probably,
funny.
yeah.
Um,
We should probably move on to the questions as we're running kind of long on the podcast.
Okay. Yeah. We have many questions? There's
Not too
mostly
many
people.
questions, but I want to see what you guys answer some of these. Favorite and least favorite Sega characters by Sonic Zone Cap or Cop. Sorry, Cap.
Okay.
oh man,
What is your favorite and least favorite Sega characters? Is does Bernie or whatever the Sega US president for the Saturn count?
Yeah.
Okay, because I don't like him very much. It depends. I like him sometimes. I like his quote where he like kind of like didn't like get bossed around by EA. That's cool. I like him like towards the Dreamcast era, like the how he laid down the foundation for the Dreamcast. But I also hate the fact that he killed the Saturn by himself in the U.S.
What an asshole.
So but yeah, I hate him. I hate let's see man, I hate a lot. I don't actually don't hate that many Sega characters. Silver the Hedgehog I hate. Shadow the Hedgehog's a pretty bad character. He's like Knuckles, darker version.
Dark Knuckles.
Yeah, he's like Dark Knuckles.
I'd say Silver is my least favorite.
Yeah, Silver's pretty bad. Um, he's
I'm
actually
probably gonna
like
go with Silver too, just
yeah,
because I
Nice.
can't really think of that many. I honestly can't really think of that many Sega characters that I actually dislike.
Mhm.
Because like I like Big the Cat, and you know what? I
I
actually
like Big
will
the
hold a
Cat too.
candle for Shadow because at the time, obviously Sonic was basically filling in the video game tropes of I gotta have a rival, but then again, he had a rival like Knuckles, and
Yeah.
as like you guys said, like Shadow kind of took his place for a little while, and then Silver is just kind of like nobody cares.
Hey guys, I heard you guys like Shadow. Check me out. I'm Silver. And I'm confused, and I hate Sonic. But I'll be a bad guy after. I mean, I'll be a good guy after this game.
Yeah,
Do you
right.
guys do you guys know how funny it is that like they try to advertise Silver as like this new brand detergent or something like that? Like play a Sonic Shadow or new Silver. It's like what the hell? Why don't you
Ooh.
put this on the back of a video game box?
Ooh,
Like,
mom,
that's
this one
not
has silver.
Man, I
Who's
wish
not
Silver
so
was in
much?
Sonic 1.
They have not used silver in a game, have they? After that, besides like I guess the racing game.
he's in Sonic
Just,
Rivals.
Yeah.
yeah.
Let's not remember that game anymore.
He can
Uh,
at least spin jump.
He's Blaze's friend now, pretty much.
the whole I don't know how or what Sonic team was thinking of the conception. Like, oh, we should have a guy that has these like powers that could like lift up objects because we could show off our new our new physics engine.
That was pretty much it.
Yeah, and the fixes in the physics in that game sucked. So thank you.
So Silver is your least favorite. Who's your favorite?
Sonic character?
No, is it Sonic character? I guess it's
I
just
thought it
No,
was
Sega.
no,
Sega.
Sega character. Oh, my favorite Sega character. Hmm. Uh, what's that? What's the name of the guy that goes, "Hey, bro"?
I was gonna pick him, Goro.
Goro. There you go. I like that Goro, and I like Goro from Yakuza, the One Night Patch Megami.
Yeah, they're both good.
Yeah, they're both good. They both do the name justice. I mean, in different ways.
Yeah,
So there you go. Those are my favorite.
nice. How about you,
Yeah,
Uh,
Bartman?
bro.
um, some that's not Sonic. Bug.
You like
Bug?
Bug?
I don't know.
Pepsi
I
Man.
think maybe Bug is probably my least favorite because every time I think back to him, after like talking with like Blaze, who works at TSZ, whatever. At least back in the day, I remember he did not like Bug, and I'm starting to kind of lean with him in
Mhm.
regards to that issue because he's basically supposed to be like, hey, we need a mascot, and Sonic's not here, so what do we got? Bug!
It's like
That's it.
Bubsy.
Basically, it's Bubsy, but it's just this asshole like green thing, and he apparently hates Sonic, and so does Sega. Apparently, I don't know,
He raced
but
Sonic.
he did, and you can kill him if you debug. Move over to his plane. He's worth 100 points.
Only
Wow,
100
really?
points? Yeah, that's cheap.
Damn,
Man.
curb
Oh,
stomp him.
that's all that mascot was worth for Sega, 100 points.
I guess I think one thing that I would probably say, I mean, is going to be Sonic related, is I actually kind of like E102 Gamma, at least for what type of character they were trying to make him, because like Sonic has like those flicky characters who don't really have like any arms or legs or act like humans, like
Hmm.
Amy and them do. So here you would have like this bird type of creature who apparently has like this newly gained intelligence and is like the only way to express his method of like power over others is that he's being encapsulated in this new suit, and once he's
Hmm.
able to take control of it, thanks to Amy, he can now use it to help his friends that were also captured during the process of when Eggman was taking things over. So I
Hmm.
think for something like that, that's actually kind of a cool character, even though E102 is sort of not a character, so to speak.
Yeah,
I
it's a
mean,
suit.
basically, I mean, you could technically call that the bird that the pink bird or whatever that's in him as E102, even though that's kind of a stretch, and it
Yeah,
doesn't really have a name otherwise. I think
yeah.
that's a cool character.
I will say that despite how, I mean, Dreamcast was so new that with the cutscenes, everything was just really wonky in Sonic
Oh,
Adventure. I will say the
no,
Yeah.
final,
it looked like trash compared to some of the
yeah, but
colors
the
badge for a
final
day.
scene in E102's I thought was handled really, really well. Like, I think the fade out just as the other bird appeared was like, I'll admit I got a little teared up.
You
Yeah,
cried, didn't you?
A little bit. It was
You're
sad.
like
I
13
thought it was
years
really
old.
well done.
You're like 13 years old crying about a robot's.
Was I 13?
I think it
Yeah,
was also voiced by.
I was like 14, I think. But I thought it was really well done. And when I played it again recently, I didn't cry, but I did feel a little something. So
I gotta
Yeah,
be honest with you. When I first played Sonic Adventure, when I first got the Dreamcast, man, I had some like rose tinted glasses or some shit because
mm,
I thought that game was the shit. I thought that
still
game.
is.
I was like, oh, I have to play. Like I sat all night and I played the whole game like with everybody, and I was like, everything about this game is perfect. And then I played it like a couple years after, and I was like, holy shit, this game is terrible. Like
I
not
will say,
terrible, but it had a lot of terrible aspects that weren't really thought out for a 3D game.
if you were watching someone play Sonic Adventure, it's very boring
Yeah.
because I don't know, like it's basically like a roller coaster ride, and then once when you watch someone else play, it's like, oh, I already did that stuff, so it's not exactly anything new. Um, Trying to think. But yeah, B102, that's a cool character. Too bad or Sonic Team can't really do good writing to at least flesh out those characters very well. Well,
Yeah.
maybe they can. It's just a matter of like their execution is just not very good.
The next question is probably more aimed at Bart because I don't think me and Barry own this console. So we get a question that says, "I should buy the Wii U?" Question mark. Only for Sonic.
Oh, not now. Like, I would still probably wait to see if there's any other games coming out. You
Or
can
a
bet
price
your
drop.
ass we're gonna have another Smash Brothers game. You can also bet
Hmm.
your ass we're gonna have another Mario game, and another Paper Mario game too.
I would I,
But
I would I would wait closer to release date just in case they drop the price because you never know with these
I
Yeah.
type.
mean, at the very least, you're also going to be dealing with less DRM bullshit compared to the other consoles. So there's always that.
Yeah.
Um, but like if you're really that big into Sega, like Bayonetta 2 is also coming exclusive for Wii U trademark.
Hmm.
Um, but like right
And
now, like I have a Wii U. I've got Nintendo Land, Mario U, and Sonic Transformed, and I've bought a couple of Virtual Console games. Like that's really the only thing you're going to miss out on is these 30-cent Virtual Console games. Like as I personally thought Virtual Console on the original Wii was cool. Don't transfer your games to the Wii U no matter what, because then you can't use your GameCube controllers on it. And for some of the games, You can't go play games that go up to like 5 or 8 players.
I don't understand sometimes Nintendo's why can't you use the GameCube controller? Does
Well,
like the Wii U?
nobody sells GameCube controllers anymore.
Oh,
I can understand if like they
do
send
they
out
have
like
the ports still on the Wii U, or they take that
no,
off?
they're gone. They're
Okay,
gone.
okay.
Now,
So it doesn't play GameCube games, the Wii U.
no, they don't. But technically, it could. I mean, especially since there's that rumor that hey, we're going to put GameCube games on the Virtual Console, and at least with the Wii U, they can with the additional hard drive, hard drive space or whatever, flash memory, whatever you want to
Right.
call it.
Now,
Um,
how about the games that are going to be on like PS4 and Xbox One, but they're also going to be on Wii U? Do you think it might be worth it to like get a Wii U so you could play those exclusive games that you were mentioning, but also get a taste of next gen games on Wii U? Like I'm looking at Watch Dogs, and to be honest, I don't really want to get it on Xbox 360 because I'd much rather experience it on like one of the next gen consoles. But at the same time, I feel like I'm going to get a Wii U before I get either of those.
if
So
PlayStation 4 can get all of its crap out of the way, and hopefully it's not going to do the same stuff that the Xbox One is doing in terms of like use game blocking and all this stuff, you could probably go with something like that, or just build yourself a PC.
I was gonna
And
suggest that. I'm gonna get that game on PC mostly because I know it's gonna be modded the hell up. Like
you
I
could
want to see
probably,
some. Sorry, go on.
and that's all right. It's like the thing is like PCs you can probably get decent ones for like $400 or $500, and you're probably going to be expecting to spend that much money in not just on like the hardware, but like at least with the Xbox One, you're going to have to spend that stuff on subscriptions and all these other fees that they're kind of hiding behind your back that the PC, your PC would definitely not have. And in terms of like, if you're going to buy games digitally like on Steam, there's plenty of stuff on there. There's plenty of cheap games on there. If you want to have control over your DRM stuff, there's places like GOG.com, which still
mhm.
needs like there's a lot of great stuff on GOG.com.
I agree. They also right now there's a lot of companies trying to compete against Steam, so PC games drop very low. Like I said in the beginning of the podcast, I got that Microsoft Game Pack for $10, $2 per game. So I got Deadlight for $2, and because Amazon wants to compete against Steam, and all the games actually activate in Steam, so it's not like I even lost anything. I still have all my library in Steam.
There's some games on Steam that have additional DRM like SecuROM, and of course, if you buy something like, well, if you're to buy Assassin's Creed 3, you're still gonna have to deal with Ubisoft stuff, and of course, you would have to deal with Origin if you buy anything from Electronic Arts. But I don't buy anything from those guys because I don't want to deal with their bullshit myself.
And if I really
So
want to play it, I usually just pirate it because, well, fuck them. They try to fuck me over with their DRM. I kind of find that
exactly, like,
justified.
can you believe that Ben Kuchera was basically on Penny Arcade Report was basically saying that Xbox anti-used games thing is going to stop used game sales and piracy altogether?
No, no.
Like, if you go look that up, if you go look on like his Twitter, like he's basically makes this argument of like, why are you buying next gen systems if you have shitty internet? And oh my god, like I even jumped in on him on that idiot. Like, holy crap! Like you don't like I was saying earlier with like if you're to buy games off of GOG.com, and they do put out new stuff. They were called good old games at one point, but you get a lot of like indie games. PlayStation 4 is being very friendly with indie developers, so you can get a bunch of games that way as well. And it sounds like they're also like I said, their policies seem less intrusive on your rights. So um, I guess back to the question, if you're obviously your best bet is going to be you want to be able to play the most games, and if you're into like Nintendo stuff, a Wii U is definitely gonna carry you over pretty well. The tablet stuff can be okay. And what is nice, like I can play Super Metroid if I'm gonna watch TV on something else. And the tablet controller's okay. They're probably gonna come out with like grips that make it easier to hold on to. And even then, all of your old Wii stuff, if you have a Wii, all that shit works on your new system. You don't even need to worry about buying new hardware, which is what you're gonna have to do with the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One. So at least Nintendo has you covered in that aspect. It really just depends on how you want to spend your money, how many games you want to play, what games you want to play. Um, so
Are Wii games upscaled at least to like 480p, or
you
do they
you
or do they
you get
upscale to 1080?
you get 480p if you
Oh,
play original Wii games. It's not terrible.
it's not
Like,
terrible, but after playing them on the Dolphin and watching like Wind Waker in 1080p, I'm like, man, I don't know if I could go back.
yeah, it's that stuff like that is definitely understandable. But that's why they're going to upsell you on those HD re-releases. That's the solution of used games. They're just going to sell you the same games again.
Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, I think
That's the future.
if Nintendo could have got it to do HD when you insert the disc, that's kind of slimy though, isn't it?
Kinda, but at least the stuff works for better or worse. Like it'll display correctly on your new shiny television and things like that.
I gotta
And
say,
of course,
Wind Waker is my favorite Zelda 3D Zelda game. My favorite Zelda game of all time is Link to the Past. So I guess I
favorite
might
3D is Link to the Past. What?
Link to the Past. Yeah, the Super Nintendo one.
Okay,
Yeah, the I don't really like the 3D ones. So
that's definitely understandable, since they don't really stand up too well over time, but they're still relics of what they were.
yeah, I mean they're not bad. It's just like I feel that Nintendo should like right now that they're like being pinned. I guess you could say their hardware is not doing as well as they wanted to do. They should probably start reinventing their franchises. I mean, like Mario Galaxy was great, but like it's still the basic formula we had with Mario 64, but perfected.
Well,
And
they're
how much?
relying heavily on their old IPs. Like I said, that we're guaranteed to get another Zelda, get another, maybe
But,
another Star Fox someday.
but gamers really care when it's like they've already had like the Twilight Princess was just basically like, hey, look, it's just like the N64 one.
We listened to you guys. It's the hardcore shields will shatter, blades will bleed shit that you guys wanted to write,
I,
right, guys?
I guess so.
Right.
I just want an open world game with a lot of side quests and wacky characters. Like I love Nintendo's wacky characters. I think they're probably the best thing they do when they have those weird characters that make no sense. Like when you have like a mailman guy come in with like short shorts and he's like stretching and it's really weird and you don't even know what to think about it.
The
That's
weird thing is
shit.
is that they are coming out with new games like Dylan's Rolling Western and Pushmo and things like that, but they're being put out on their digital services, which if there's one thing to fault Nintendo platforms for is that their digital rights stuff is really, really terrible because they are only going to be tied to one console and you have to go through a bunch of hoops and hurdles if you want them on anything else.
They haven't fixed that.
Nope, you still can't like tie your purchases to an account. That's just a bunch of hoopla that they just
That's
kind of made up.
I think that was the best. I think when Sony did the PS3, having it on 4 units was probably the best, or I think it was 4 to 5
It was a
units.
lot, and they shrunk it down over
Yeah, they
time.
shrunk it down because people were taking advantage of it. But
Yeah.
but I think they did two of them. I think it went from 4 to 2. But then if you did it on 2, you could deactivate it on other consoles really easily in the menu. Like you could
You could
deactivate the content. So if you bought a new PS3 or Vita or whatever, you could take off content easily. So that wasn't
and
that.
for the Xbox 360 they have a license transfer feature where if you buy a new console, you can just transfer all that stuff over to the new system, but you would have to re-download each game. So it's kind of painful. And
But is that the worst?
and of course, I stupidly decided to transfer my Virtual Console games to my Wii U. What they do tell you, and they make it very explicit, is that you have to re-download each one at a time, and you can't download those games in bulk. So I had to go through like all 100 of those games that I purchased over the
Oh.
years. That was awful. That was terrible.
Do Nintendo have like background installing at least on Wii U?
Wii U does, yes, because you
Okay.
can download stuff in the background in conjunction with playing a game, unlike the original Wii. But
Yeah, which you had to wait.
the but when you play in Wii mode, when you play those older games, you're still stuck with the old rules, so you have to download those games one by one. When it comes to like Virtual Console transfers, you don't really transfer anything. You just basically say, "Hey, I bought this game on Wii. At least give me a discount." and you can get like $1 or $1.50 discount on select games. And they're
Uh,
piecemealing that shit, which is stupid, and they need to change that immediately. No one's going to be willing to do any of that stuff that for their discount program if they're going to do just that.
yeah, I agree. Like, if I was buying games and like Sony's like, hey, you know that game you just bought on the PS3? You want to buy it on the PS4? We'll give you 50 cents off. I'd be like, fuck, you already bought that game. Why the fuck would I pay
Pretty
you?
much. I mean, at least like for these virtual console games, like some of these that they're putting them out for like 30 cents, like Super Metroid for 30 cents. Yeah, no question, go for that. That's like chump change basically that could have gone to, well, nothing. Uh, now,
Are there like virtual console games like Super Metroid? Are they still like just ROMs basically, where they're not really like fixed or like
well,
for
yeah, they have the
1080p?
same. Yeah, they have the same imperfections, but at least you can play the. For if you buy the virtual console games on Wii U, you can play them on the tablet, and they look great. They look fine. And you can like play Super Metroid while you're watching Star Trek and on Skype on your laptop or whatever. The one thing that is beneficial for the Wii U Virtual Console is that they actually give you like an option for save states. You can only do one at a time, but at least that's enough. And you can also change controls for any controller that you use on the game.
Nice.
So like you can,
Nice.
so like I had to change for Super Metroid. They mapped the L and R buttons to exactly L and R, which is on top of the tablet, which is super uncomfortable when you're playing Super Nintendo games. But you can map them to ZL and ZR, and you can touch the touchscreen at any time to go to the Virtual Console menu. So stuff like that, it works. I really, really hope that they can get all of the Virtual Console games back from the original Wii service, but I'm willing to bet they're not going to do that. So I just started like playing that stuff on my PC, and right now I'm trying to see if I can find a way to stream video from my PC to my tablet, and I haven't found too many great options, unfortunately. So we'll just have to kind of wait and see how exactly that's going to work out in the long run.
Hmm.
Well, I think that was all the questions on Twitter.
That was it.
I think we're
Sorry.
done with this. No, it's cool. We usually try to keep it under an hour, but we haven't done a podcast in like 2 weeks, so we had more to talk about this time, especially with
This
like
makes up for it.
yeah, this makes up for it. It's an extra long podcast, and
Exactly.
it's not giant bomb long, so I'm pretty sure it's very listenable. So I guess you guys can say goodbye to everybody.
Yeah,
I
we
like
want to
long
thank
podcasts.
Bartman for joining us from Sonic Retro.
Yeah, great to be here. It was a lot of fun. I wish we
And
could
And
do our podcast more often, but maybe we'll do it someday.
hey, you never
someday,
know. Just need to
someday,
get George on your ass, and he just keeps going. He sends you messages. Are we doing one tonight? Are we doing one?
yeah.
So
God.
he's good at it. And that's me saying goodbye.
And we'll see you guys in a couple weeks.
Yeah, definitely. Hello and welcome to SEGAbits Swingin Report Show, episode 44. I'm Barry, with me is George, and we have a...
You didn't even let me say hello, dude.
Oh, shut the...
All
Let me start over. And you'll probably stick this thing at the end as a joke.
Okay.